Happy Thanksgiving, companions. Hoping to share with you some of my thoughts on this Thanksgiving to provide some inspiration or food for thought for you. As we recall from when we received the cryptic degrees, the goal of our order is very straightforward: to preserve the mysteries of Masonry in perpetuity for future generations. In fact, the 3 degrees of cryptic Masonry serve as a roadmap for doing just that. This Thanksgiving, I feel blessed to be part of an order that urges those obligated in the secret vault to live up to that important charge. You may ask, however, what mysteries? How shall we preserve them? For what reason? And for whom? Here are my thoughts on these important questions, and I encourage you, as you look for direction this uncommon season, to reflect on our cryptic and Masonic mysteries and answer these questions for yourself. What are the mysteries? Mysteries are indicated most plainly in the lectures, within and at the conclusion of degrees, and charges of our cryptic, capitular, and especially craft degrees. They should be studied, reflected upon, and discussed regularly. The private words, signs, and grips are, in my estimation, tokens or signposts, and not the mysteries themselves. They're meant to excite your memory and senses to recall your experience of initiation and subsequent Masonic study. They also serve the more practical purpose of being an oft repeated reminder to live up to the vows we all took at the altar. These manual signs, tokens, grips, and dewguards remind you of that blissful awakening at the time of your initiation into the first and subsequent degrees, and then constantly prompt us to open the boundless library of our minds to the rich material of the lectures and charges. They are an invitation via repeated symbolic and physical stimulus to accumulate, to process, and most importantly, to recall, teach, and apply the lessons laid out in our lectures. It is important, however, to note that the invocation of password or use of tokens must lead not only to intellectual accumulation, it must incite a spiritual agitation that acts as an accelerant to propel the lessons on the page or in our ear to a vibrant force we as cryptic masons can draw on, but only with the direct intervention and might of the supreme architect of the universe. These 3 potent ingredients of material, spiritual agitation, and divine invitation are the whole of the mysteries that we are charged to preserve and use as cryptic masons. How shall we preserve the mysteries? In pre pandemic times, we confer the degrees in full form before eager aspirants, not only craving Masonic light, but also committing themselves freely to the difficult life of a servant leader, a guardian, a student, a mentor, and a guide. Unfortunately, due to present conditions, we cannot confer the degrees, and we must rely on fond memories of our admission to the secret vault and the sound of our name on the rolls of the Royal and Select. Fear not, worthy companions. We know the day we perform the work in person will come again, when we will find ourselves tightly interlocked among our brethren, forming a physical circle of friendship. Until we welcome that glorious morning, what shall we do? We shall do the 2 things every new entered apprentice knows as his mission: learn to subdue our passions and improve ourselves in masonry. In conjunction to that admonition, we shall again think of the symbols appertaining to the super excellent master degree, one of which reminds us that the cardinal virtues of temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice are imprinted on the memory of every true mason. Companions, in order to share light with others, we must be a mason worthy of an initiate's emulation. At present, health professionals are on our streets and in our hospitals desperately pleading with us to wear masks, social distance, and stay away from others, even our loved ones, on Thanksgiving and other holidays for a little while. When we hear their exasperated call, we should, as upright citizens and masons who care for the well being of others, heed their exhausted plea and do just what they recommend. However, as we cheerfully acquiesce to our courageous brethren fighting on the front lines, we should not simply stew in our homes waiting until we can get back to a business meeting to hear the sweet sound of the minutes read. In my humble opinion, it means we should take this time to set the example and improve ourselves in Masonry. This can be accomplished through careful study and meditation, or through reaching out by phone or even Zoom to engage in fellowship or Masonic discussion. We are blessed to live in a time when technology has afforded us several opportunities to connect virtually and by phone. We should examine the lectures and obligations of our several orders and extend a virtual hand to those who may need encouragement or crave Masonic intercourse from well informed brethren. We should recall this charge. Let us labor diligently and faithfully in the cause of truth, doing with all our might whatever our hands find to do. The bottom line is that we, as good citizens and Masons, cannot and should not simply offer empty platitudes and prayers for the blessing and protection of our medical and emergency services. We must don the full armor of God, repel the evil attack of those who will downplay our current predicament, and do everything we can to ensure those prayers come to fruition. Similarly, we as cryptic Masons should not simply say we reaffirm all the vows of the preceding degrees or idly nod when King Solomon tells us that it, or the secret vault, and its sacred contents may be kept in darkness until future generations may bring them to light. It is applicable in all of the above cases to recall that the super excellent master degree first urges us to inculcate a sincere devotion to the great I am, which is a symbolical expression for a reverence of truth and abhorrence of falsehood. For what reason? As a loyal and studious cryptic Masons, that which we preserve in the secret vault is not meant to gather dust. We will accomplish nothing if we reserve being a royal and select Mason for an occasional in-person business meeting, or for when we don our vibrant and handsome purple blazer. Now is the time to take both account of our tenets and teachings, and then reach out and teach others to help them bring them friendship and light to those who walk in the darkness. Let's recall an auspicious time in our Masonic careers when we may have gathered around an altar in a particular formation denoting friendship. At that time, we were reminded that if our work in Masonry has brought but one result, and that result has been forming and cementing of true and lasting friendships, then our labors at the altars of Masonry shall not be in vain. For whom? We are the future generations that Illustrious King refers to. It is our duty as the royal and select to preserve the mysteries as our ancient predecessors did for those that come after, but also to use those sacred contents of all preceding degrees to today bring light to ourselves, our brethren, and the world at large. This is truly a gift for which to be thankful. The time is now to act on the words that we proclaim in our various communications before and after the minutes and treasury reports. It is time to learn of the artifacts stored in the vaults and their meaning, and become the embodiment of those vessels to share light with others. I have hope because we have this great mission before us. In these troubling times, we can accomplish much and brighten our spirits and those of others around us if we do three things. 1. Study the teachings found in our ritual, lecture, and the sacred books of law. 2. Pray, reflect, and meditate to stir your spirit. Call on the supreme architect of the universe to intervene. And 3. It's 9 at night, companions. Get to work. Apply the lessons in your life and reach out to others to converse, learn, teach, and mentor. Especially apply them today when our fellow Americans depend on our actions to save their lives and lift them up. And today, when our brothers and fellow humans are in need of action, that comes in the form of relief, contact, and safe fellowship. I give thanks for the blessing of being a cryptic Mason, for this brotherhood and this charge of preservation in our lives that can propel us to shine the light of Masonry to warm all those around us. I give thanks for you, my companions, and for your fidelity in life and friendship, whether I am with you in person or facing you on a screen. I give thanks for my faith in the supreme architect of the universe, the hope of a day when we can all gather again in safety and good health, and for the charity my companions have shown me as mentors, leaders, teachers, confidants, friends, and brothers. My prayers and good tidings are with you and yours this Thanksgiving, and I submit this to you in faith, friendship, and fidelity.